To Kyiv now, where France 24 senior reporter James André has been reporting for the past few days. James, thanks for being with us. You approached the city of Irpin today. The zone is currently closed to journalists. Can you tell us what the situation is there?
Yes, absolutely. So we went to the last checkpoint just before the road that leads to Irpin. We were just a few kilometers out of the city. Now, the first thing I can tell you is that when it comes to noise, it was quite impressive. We heard a lot of artillery and some firearm noise as we were there. And what we saw was basically a checkpoint that is totally closed. We tried to negotiate, but they do not let any journalists across this checkpoint. While we were there, we saw a flurry of military vehicles going in and coming out of the city. Also some ambulances and some humanitarian convoy that were ferrying the last residents of Irpin out of this city. It's a large city, Irpin, about 110,000 inhabitants, and one of the volunteers told us there that at this stage 95% of the population had been evacuated. There was a humanitarian camp, a shelter for the people coming out. They were distributing food, water. They were also taking care of these people who are very often elderly people who had decided to stay in their city till the bitter end and who had decided today to leave. And indeed, some of them were quite distressed. What I can also tell you is it's obviously very difficult to evaluate how violent the situation is in Irpin, but we did see two dead bodies there that had been brought out by the volunteers. These, we were told, were civilians that had been killed in the just previous hours of this battle, this bitter battle taking place in Irpin.
So that's the situation in Irpin, but what about a little bit further back, right in the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv? What's the atmosphere like at the moment?
Well, Kyiv is really holding its breath. Now, as you said, indeed, there is a curfew that will last 35 hours that has been decided by the authorities. And what we saw today in the city were long lines in front of shops, people queuing in order to stock up on groceries before being banned from leaving their houses. The rules of these curfew state that you have to stay indoors. You are only allowed to leave your house in order to go to a shelter. Another important detail is that the military press cards we've been issued will not be valid during this period, so it is illegal basically to leave our hotel, for example, for journalists to work in the city of Kyiv. So yes, indeed, there is a lot of tensions on the streets, a lot of people asking themselves questions, and as you can see, there are very few people around, just simply people coming home with whatever they manage to lay their hands on to be able to eat and live indoors for the next 35 hours.
James André reporting there from the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv.